Good morning, y'all. How's it going? Welcome back to Seed to Plate channel. I'm gonna warn you right now, it's a little bit windy today, but today's the only day I have to film this video, so we might just have to deal with the wind. And maybe I'll finally get a freaking microphone like I keep saying I'm going to. But at any rate, today we are talking about tomatoes. So I did a video all about how to plant your tomatoes, and today we are going to chat I don't want to call it like mid-season, but I guess like early season tomatoing. That's good. That'll work. It's fine. Today we're going to talk about staking your tomatoes and different ways to support them. We're going to talk about fertilizing, and we're also going to talk about pruning. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get the easy part out of the way first. Let's talk about fertilizing. Tomatoes need nitrogen. They really like nitrogen. And then they also need calcium to prevent blossom end rot. So if you have done a soil test, that is a great first step to see where your soil's at. I, in the past, have never done a soil test. Does that make me a bad garden YouTuber? I don't know. But I always have amended my soil. And then you also want to use some type of fertilizer. So the fertilizer that I use, I really like the Espoma Tomato Tone. It's an all-organic fertilizer, and it's just a really good, even fertilizer. The ratio on it is 3-4-6. And I've always had really good luck with this one in particular. I do prefer an organic fertilizer versus one that's just chemicals. And actually, probably next week I'm going to do a whole video on the difference between compost and fertilizer, because there's a lot to talk about there. But for fertilizer, you just want to make sure that your plants have plenty of nutrients. And some of the signs that your plants are going to be nutrient deficient are if they're slow to grow, if you're getting yellowing leaves, if you've got purple under the leaves. So definitely make sure your tomatoes are in very well amended soil. So that takes care of fertilizing, and along with that goes watering. I talked about this in my last video, but it wasn't super focused on tomatoes. Tomatoes like to be watered deeply and infrequently. So right now at the size that mine are at, which they're a 1.5 feet off the ground right now, tall, I am watering them 3 times a week, and I'm doing that to the count of 10. So that takes care of watering and fertilizing. Now in terms of measuring said fertilizer, I fertilize the way I cook, and I don't measure anything. You should. Honestly, I take like a handful. I have small hands. I take a handful, I put half of the handful on one plant, half the handful on the other, and that's kind of how I fertilize. Certainly not an exact science, and probably not what they recommend, but that's just kind of how I rock and roll. Now, if you don't necessarily want to invest in fertilizer, it's not that expensive, but you know, it's an extra cost, then I recommend you heavily amend with something that's super high in nitrogen, like composted cow manure, something to that effect. I actually did that my first year. I used a soil conditioner and a composted cow manure, and I didn't have to fertilize one time. So that's good news. So the second part of this whole conversation, which now we're going to have to step out into the wind, the second part of this conversation is supporting your tomatoes. So there's a few different ways you can do this, and I actually use a few different methods at the same time, depending on my space. So this bed right here is a 12-foot bed, and I really like these cages. They're pretty tall. I would say they're like 5 feet tall. I really like these. They're from Amazon, and I like them because they break down and they store really well. And you can move these arms wherever you need to move them. You can move them up the plant. You can add as you go. You can put string around here if you need to. The only problem is my tomatoes last year were about that tall. So there was a good bit of them that were not supported by the cages. And I like these cages better than your like standard metal tomato cage, because you can kind of add on to the top if you need to, but also those metal tomato cages are expensive. I got a pack of these cages for just a lot less money on Amazon. They might be more expensive now. I bought these in 2020, but they're just way easier to store. They break down a lot easier, and I'm a big fan. However, I only have 7 tomato plants here. So it makes sense to only to do cages. That's a logical thought. However, then I have this. So then I have this very large row of tomatoes. So right now I've got them all supporting with one stake. Then what I'll be doing after that, which I need to just do it, to be honest, is I have a T-post attached to a piece of longer wood. I'm going to drive that into the ground, and I have one on each side, and then I'll actually be doing a method called the Florida weave. And the Florida weave is a really good method if you've got a long row of tomatoes. Now, I tried it last year, and my mistake last year was only relying on the support of the stems of the plants. So what I did this time was I have all of the plants staked with a separate pole to provide more support. And what you do with the Florida weave, I actually have a video on it that I did last year. You can also find tons of videos that go through it a lot more slowly than I will. But basically you weave some string along the plants and you make figure eights, and you have these taut lines at either end, and it helps kind of have all of them support each other. So that's what I'm planning on doing with that long row of tomatoes. And also, people do things lots of different ways. Actually, I think the most ideal setup that I would like to have someday is to do tall cattle panels. However, that requires me, I would need to have access to both sides, which when I'm working with a fence, I need to be able to get around the plant to get all of the goodies, which you can't really do if I were to just basically create another wall. So that's another good method that I really like. People also will do what's called lower and lean. The lower and lean system is really interesting. You basically create this big arch and you attach clips. And I think that that method is much more heavily focused on like greenhouse growers, but I have seen people do it outside. That method scares me a little bit because that structure would have to be really secure, especially on a windy day like today. So there's tons of different options to support your tomatoes, but generally they do need support. Now, your indeterminate varieties, which are all of the ones I have in the backyard, they're gonna keep growing until they freeze or they die. So last year my tomatoes were probably 8 or 9 feet tall, and so I have to plan on supporting them up to that height or cutting them down. Your determinants, which the Florida weave method I believe was actually created for, all of the determinants I have at the community garden will also be operating on the Florida weave method. So I'll have 2 rows, and that's how I'll be supporting my tomatoes. Now, the very last and potentially most contentious tomato topic of the day: to prune or not to prune. Now, if you're new to tomato growing, then the whole pruning thing is quite a contentious topic, which when I say that kind of stuff, it always makes me giggle because we're all just out here gardening, having a good time. What's contentious about that? But with pruning tomatoes, the reason why you would want to do it, and I have actually always done it, is you are trying to prevent suckers. Now, suckers is a bit of a misnomer for what's happening. If you've ever seen like a tree growing and you see like another little baby tree growing outside of it, we actually have some in our backyard, that's a sucker of that tree. So that extra shoot that's coming up, that is taking nutrients away from the main plant. Now what we're talking about when it comes to tomatoes are this. I will show you. So this, you guys see this right here? This shoot coming up out of the arm of these 2 leaves, that is what people call a sucker. And every plant's gonna have them. That's just how they work. What I've learned is that if you want some big tomatoes, like you want like 1.5 pound, 2 pound tomatoes, show tomatoes, let's call them Instagram tomatoes. That is one reason you would prune your plants. So you're actually taking away the fruit production, and what you're doing is you're forcing the plant to put more energy into just one big fruit instead of, you know, kind of fulfilling its genetics and how much fruit it's going to put off. So you're essentially taking away fruit production when you take away suckers. Now, one of the benefits of pruning your suckers is if you live in a really high humid area, which I do, one of the benefits of pruning your suckers can be that you're actually preventing disease, and you're preventing powdery mildew and different kinds of issues you could run into with growing in a humid environment. Also, I now have tomato. You guys probably can't see. There's a type of chemical that tomatoes put off when you touch them. It smells like tomatoes in summer. So basically, when you prune off your suckers, you are technically decreasing your fruit production. However, you're probably going to get bigger fruits and you'll have less chance of disease. Now, the other way you could prevent your chance of disease is to space out your tomatoes. So this year, my tomatoes are actually 2 feet apart because I will not be pruning my tomatoes. Now, you also super do not want to prune determinate tomatoes, which is why my determinate tomatoes are at my community garden plot that's 15 minutes away, because those I can just kind of water and leave and let them grow and bush out. Because determinate tomatoes have a determined height and a determined number of fruit that's going to come off of them. So allowing your determinate tomatoes to just kind of do their thing, you're really cutting into your fruit production at that point. So I read an incredible book, I've talked about it multiple times, called Epic Tomatoes by Craig LeHoulier. I will leave an Amazon link down below, which, like, no affiliate situation here because I'm too lazy. But that book is really interesting. It talks about like the genetic profile of tomatoes and how even indeterminate tomatoes, when you prune your suckers, you're really just decreasing the amount of fruit production you're gonna get. So this year I decided I don't need big tomatoes. I grew big tomatoes last year. It was super fun, had a great time. But you're basically sending that plant into like emergency mode because you're breaking parts of the plant off. So the plants are gonna grow really fast and you're gonna get really large tomatoes. This year I just want as many tomatoes as I can get, even if they're not pound 2-pounders. I don't really care about that. So I will not be pruning my tomatoes this year. So when it comes to the argument of to prune or not to prune, there's no right answer. Which is probably somewhat frustrating. It just depends on what you want to do and how you want your tomato plants to look, and what kind of fruit you want off of them, what kind of environment you live in, all of that stuff. Now, the last thing that I just want to touch on very briefly is pollination. So tomato blossoms, which let's go look at a tomato blossom. They're so cute. That's a tomato blossom right there. So tomato blossoms have everything that they need inside of them. So they have a pistil and a stamen, and all they need to pollinate is just a little bit of wind to shake it up, which clearly we have today. And I actually saw a video on Instagram, which is why I felt the need to mention this, talking about like shaking your tomato blossoms to pollinate them. And it was kind of just one of those gardening things that I was like, oh, you don't probably need to do that. Like, unless you live somewhere where there's literally no wind at all, maybe you should do it then. But tomatoes are completely self-fertile. They have everything they need within that little flower to make a tomato. And as long as you just have a little bit of wind that's shaking those blossoms just a tiny bit, you're totally fine. There's some other plants, cucumbers, melons, squash. There are some other plants that require pollination from a pollinator, like a bee, or even wasps are also pollinators. They're not quite as efficient. And also, I got stung by a wasp the other day. That hurts, man. So there are some things that do require pollination. Tomatoes aren't one of them. So I guess just a reminder, if you ever see videos like that, just double check the sources. Last but very not least, we do have a couple of little baby tomatoes happening. I'm so excited. And I'm actually gonna put all of my tomato videos, because I know I have viewers from all over the country who probably haven't planted your tomatoes yet. I'm gonna put them all in like a playlist, and then we'll do some more videos as the season goes on, specifically about tomatoes. They're truthfully one of my favorite things to grow, which is why I talk about them so much. So let's look at some little baby tomatoes. So your cherry tomatoes are always gonna come in first. And this is a little black strawberry tomato. little baby yellow pear tomatoes. That's very exciting. This one is just a standard red cherry. We've got some sun golds happening. It's always very exciting when you get any of your first baby tomatoes, but it's extra exciting when you get your first slicer and you can just taste a BLT. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. Sorry about the wind. I hope your tomato season is going well so far. Drop me any questions in the comments. Drop any advice if you are a seasoned tomato grower and you need to share something with the people. Stick it in the comment section. And thanks so much for watching. Happy gardening. We'll see you next time.